Hello and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm Steven. We're here with my co-host Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
Been okay.
Yeah, that's good. It's been a little while since our last episode because I came down with the lurgy, so wasn't able to record last time. So we had to postpone. So it has been a couple of months.
Yeah, and really, I mean, you can't talk. There's not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been kind of been a packed couple of months. It's been a packed couple of months for me. I know basically everyone that isn't us is playing Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've been so I tried out the demo for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
So like about an hour.
Yeah, so I think that's about how far I got. Not even through the entire first mission. But yeah, that I'm very interested to see what that game does. And not just because it's Final Fantasy, but because it's an interesting concept.
For a start, you start with 3 Warriors of Light, and the king says at the start. I mean, not really a spoiler. It happens in pretty much the first scene. The king says you clearly aren't the prophesized Warrior of Light because there's 3 of you and your crystals are black. So there's quite a few ways that can go. It's clearly not a straight retelling of the first game, and I'm also really interested in seeing where it goes. And this is the first of these kind of Souls-like kind of games that actually has a difficulty setting, so it's one that I can actually play.
Yeah, because I mean the only option we would have with the other ones is just summoning, and even that doesn't change. It does change difficulty significantly, but it's kind of hard to sync up, especially across time zones. Because I mean I'm into that genre of game, but that's because it just so happens that being paranoid is exactly the right thing to do in those games, so I do pretty well.
Yeah.
But I definitely can appreciate that. If it's too frustrating, if it's not going to be fun, then there's no point in playing it.
But yeah, this one does seem decent so far.
It's got a lot of difficulty settings, actually.
Yeah, it's. I'm not 100% sold on the graphical style. It seems there's so much going on the screen. It's kind of like it's a little bit difficult to fully tell what's going on because there's just so much color everywhere that I found it a little bit difficult to focus on where I needed to focus.
Yeah, it is a little bit messy.
But that is just in one area. I mean, I just went through kind of like half of the Chaos Shrine, so other areas that might not be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some other ones further in the game that are a little less busy. But neither of us have bought the game, so we've only played the first little bit. But I mean, that's one I'm looking forward to. I'm excited to see where it goes. The one I'm not excited about that also just came out recently is Chocobo Racing GP, which is really a bummer because I was super hyped for that one.
Yeah, so was I. I've been following it. I've been following the development as it's been going along, and it looked really, really good. And then it came out, and it is filled to the brim with microtransactions, even worse than the ones that were in Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, it's and I was I just played the light version. Which
so
they did the same thing here that they did with Crystal Chronicles, where you can play the beginning on your own, and then if you have someone has the full version, you can join theirs. But the difference is that Crystal Chronicles gave you like I think it's like the first 3 areas in the free version. This one, it was like just the tutorial, I think.
Yeah, literally part one of the story with one race against Gilgamesh.
Yeah,
is all you got. I mean, you've got the Chocobo GP mode, which annoyingly is good. You know, is a solid car racer, but just the microtransaction stuff around it. I mean, I believe at the start you get a choice between 3 characters,
mm-hmm.
none of which you really want to play. But the characters that you do want to play as, Cloud and Squall, you can play as them if you pay for it. And I'm not talking about paying for the full game. You can pay for the full game, and then you've still got to pay on top in order to get Cloud and Squall.
Yeah,
because you've got to get the battle pass, I believe, for Cloud, and then you've got to level up the battle pass to a certain amount to get it, and then I think you can just straight up buy Squall.
I think so.
But with the battle pass, if you don't feel like leveling that up, you can also pay to level that up as well on top of that.
Yeah.
Which is it's just disgusting. I mean, considering this game is kind of like quite clearly marketed towards kids, you know, and if you're into the Final Fantasy series, like two of the biggest protagonists in the game, Cloud and Squall, you want to play as them, don't you? But you just can't unless you put a lot of money into it.
Yeah, and it's rough for me because like I had no real interest playing Squall and Cloud in this because like if I'm playing a cute kart racer, I want to play the Moogles or the Chocobo. But like the microtransactions are just so like the very first thing you get when you boot the game is a pop up for the microtransactions.
Yeah.
And all the daily login, all the free to play crap, but they want $50 for the game. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I know I'm gonna buy it eventually, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably give it a few years, wait for like Game of the Year edition, which has probably got like all of the stuff in it.
Right.
As soon as kind of like it stops becoming profitable, they'll just lump an edition together with everything, more than likely. But honestly, if you're really, really itching to play a kart racer on Switch, just get Mario Kart 8.
Yeah. Mario Kart 8 is still really good.
It's so much better. I mean, it has DLC, but it doesn't have microtransactions. And I mean, it's even getting new DLC.
Yeah, the new pack I think just dropped within the past couple of weeks. I haven't played any of it yet, but I think it's been out for a week or a week and a half.
Yeah, and it's just like one purchase for that DLC.
Well, the new stuff you have access to if you have the Switch Online expansion.
Oh yeah, it's free with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I have it. But I mean, yeah, like just play Mario Kart 8. Yeah, it's gonna be a better kart racer because it's Mario Kart, but it's also just like more respectful of your time and money.
Yeah, I mean, the base game has all of the DLC from the Wii U.
Yeah, it's got a stupid amount of content.
Yeah, there's loads and loads of stuff. You can play as Link. You don't have to buy a battle pass to play as Link. You put the disc in the machine, and you can choose Link.
Yeah.
But that is annoying though. That is really annoying. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, so that that's a bummer. But yeah, in terms of like what I've been playing, it's been a lot of I got through the rest of the Halo games. I didn't finish Infinite yet because it's a much bigger game. But I have played a significant amount of Infinite's multiplayer and the first little bit of the story. And then I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. Uh, just kind of working my way through the earlier games to get gameplay footage. And then just like in the past couple of days, I started up the Mass Effect Legendary Edition through Game Pass because every so often I just get the urge to play Mass Effect.
Yeah, I've still never played. Well, I've played 20 minutes of the first one, and as soon as I got to the combat section, I was like, nah, I don't like this combat at all. So I just never went back to it.
Yeah, the first one is kind of rough on the combat. The second and third ones have much better combat, but not as good. The story and characters aren't quite as good as the first one. I mean, I love the whole series. My favorite is Mass Effect 3, but I'm also what they call a mark, so it's not like it's not like I have a you know people aren't going to listen to my opinion much when it comes to this because I'm pretty in the tank for this one. But yeah, so what have you been playing?
I had quite a momentous gaming achievement these past couple of months because after 16 years after I started playing it, I finished Oblivion.
Oh wow.
Like the main quest of Oblivion, I actually went through and finished it. Yeah, it's I just always went around doing like a load of side quest stuff and just always ignored the main quest. But I just decided, you know what, let's just power through it so I can see it, so I can say that I've finished it because it is on like my top 5 games of all time.
Right.
I should see the ending at some point. Even though the game does carry on, it doesn't actually end the game. But yeah, so I did that and I had really good time with it. I cheesed the ending, to be honest. I just waited until all the NPCs had finished off most of the demons and that. But yeah, it was my character was like super powerful at that point anyway, so the final fight was like fairly easy.
Mm.
But yeah, I can't believe I like finally finished it.
That's I mean, it's good that you finally got through.
Yeah. And I decided since I'd finished that I would pick up the new Legendary Edition of Skyrim, which because I already had the special edition on Steam, it was like a £12 upgrade to the Legendary Edition, and so yeah, I've been playing quite a lot of that. The amount of new content added to that is amazing. There's loads and loads of new stuff in that. Obviously, you've got all the expansion content, plus you've got all the creation club content. Just so much stuff. It just turns it into a much bigger game because I've never really spent massive amounts of time in Skyrim before because it did kind of like always pale in comparison to Oblivion for me. But
Right.
but I am having a lot of fun with it. I have been harsh about it in the past, but it is still a solid game. It lacks Oblivion's charm, it lacks Oblivion's humor, but once you get into it, it is really really solid, and I'm having a lot of fun with that at the minute.
Mm. Well, that's good.
And the only other thing really I've been playing, another game that I started playing ages ago and finally finished is Resident Evil Zero. which I had. It's one of those games that I've started a load of times and kind of like fell off round about somewhere in the mansion area, and I'd never really gotten past that. But this time I decided to just power through and get through to the end. And despite the horrible inventory system, which has you like swapping items between the two players because it doesn't have a chest system like a lot of the other games do. It was still a fun experience, and I'm glad that I've finally finished it.
Well, that's good.
It's dumb as fuck.
I mean, it's Resident Evil. They tend to do that a lot, don't they?
Yeah, I mean this one even more than kind of like the other ones. Like mind control leeches that resurrected an old Blizzard founder, and now we can control these leeches, and it's really really weird.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. Well, I actually no, I did also dip into Elder Scrolls Online, which I had an account from when it first came out. Someone convinced me to pick it up not long after it came out, and it's now one of those games where if you have an account, you can kind of like play it for free, or rather, you've basically just got to like buy the game, and then there's no monthly fee, or you can pay a monthly fee to like get a bunch of extra stuff. And I've been going into that. The free version is quite restrictive, which is annoying. There are a lot of areas that you can't go to, but I was kind of on an Elder Scrolls kick after Oblivion and Skyrim, and I wanted to check it out. And it's okay. It's not great. It's not gonna take over Final Fantasy 14, but it's all right. It's more Elder Scrolls.
The only Elder Scrolls I've played is when we played Oblivion for the podcast, so I've never had any inclination to play Elder Scrolls Online.
One thing that fascinates me about Elder Scrolls is how deep the lore is in this series of games. All this like deep, consistent lore as well over all the games. They don't go back and like retcon a shitload of stuff. There is so much going on in that world, and an interesting thing is that a lot of the history of the world and stuff like that is actually written by the characters in the games. Like it's all like in the books that that you find like lying around, like written by historians or citizens or whoever. Which is interesting because if they then do need to change something, they can just say, "Oh, that book was wrong. That author was wrong about whatever." But there is that much going on if you take the time to kind of like read some of the books, read some of the history.
Yeah, I do remember people talking about how good the books were in the games.
But I've been watching like a lot of lore videos around it, and it's fascinating, like how in depth a lot of this stuff is. Like there is a character in Skyrim. This is like one of the videos I was watching. There's a character in Skyrim who doesn't even have a quest. He just has some dialogue about how he doesn't remember his lineage and where he comes from. And some fans, by looking at stuff in Elder Scrolls Online and Morrowind, were able to trace this one random NPC's lineage back and find out like this is probably who his parents are. Just from kind of like information in completely separate games.
That's actually super cool.
And there's so much stuff like that. So it's probably one of the most fleshed out game worlds out there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, you know, I definitely I enjoyed what I played of Oblivion, so I do want to play some more of that. And I mean, obviously, I'm gonna play Skyrim at some point. Um, but like, I really really enjoy deep lore and having all that information. That's one of the reasons I liked Final Fantasy 13 was because there was a whole bunch of background information to read in the codex. Same thing with Mass Effect. The codex is fucking huge, and there's so much information there that gets updated from game to game. So it might be worth it for me to dig into Elder Scrolls some more.
Yeah, I mean it's all going to be on Game Pass. I mean Skyrim will be on Game Pass as well.
Yeah, I was just looking, and basically all of them are on Game Pass. I own Daggerfall and Arena on GOG, and I own Oblivion and Skyrim on Steam, which also means I have the Skyrim Special Edition. So, because they're now on Game Pass forever and ever, amen. I'll probably end up using the PC versions for mods, and then just play the base games on Xbox.
Yeah, definitely worth getting into if you have the time.
I'll probably have some time eventually.
You've still got an expansion and a half of Final Fantasy 14 as well.
That's true. I've got a lot to get through, and here I am playing Mass Effect for the sixth time. But anyway, I think if we want to move into news, there's not too much. Mostly just people announcing a few things here and there.
Yeah, there's a few things that came out of Nintendo Direct and a couple other announcements. The first one, which actually happened not long after we recorded last time, kind of in response to Microsoft buying Activision, Sony decided that they wanted to buy the studio that neither of those two actually wanted, and they bought Bungie,
Which is so. I saw a thing. It's like, okay, so now Microsoft owns Crash and Spyro, and Sony owns the company that made Halo.
Yeah, but Microsoft still owns Halo.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what PlayStation are getting, apart from Destiny, which was already on PlayStation.
Yeah. And they've already announced that Destiny will continue to be cross-platform.
Mm.
I mean, it's another thing. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it.
I mean, it would be nice to see kind of like a marathon collection.
Yeah, that would be nice. Because right now we've got, I think one of them is on Xbox. There's a marathon on 360 that I've bought on the Series X. I think it's only one of the three is on there.
But if they didn't release a collection while they're with Microsoft or Activision, are they likely to release one while they're with PlayStation?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or maybe they'll wait for 5 years' time when they're owned by Nintendo.
Don't know. It's kind of a weird situation, but it's it's not going to change a whole lot other than who's ultimately making money off of Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of weird buying a developer known for a really popular series, but not getting that series in the buyout.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of an odd choice, but I'm sure Sony know what they're doing. But yeah, in terms of stuff that got announced, there's some really cool stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection is coming out sometime this year, and it's got 13 of Konami's games that they made for various platforms. You've got TMNT Arcade, Turtles in Time Arcade, TMNT NES, 2 and 3 as well for NES, Tournament Fighters NES, Turtles in Time and Tournament Fighters for Super Nintendo, Hyperstone Heist and Tournament Fighters for Sega Genesis. So you've got three versions of Tournament Fighters. And you have the 3 Game Boy games, Fall of the Foot Clan, Back from the Sewers, and Radical Rescue. All coming in one collection. It's priced double what the previous Konami collections have been, but you're kind of paying for the Turtles name rather than starting at kind of like £20 or whatever the dollar equivalent is. This one's starting at 40.
Right.
But you are getting there's a hell of a lot.
Yeah, there's so much content in there.
Like, unfortunately, you get that NES game as well, which is shit.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
But like, you've got Turtles in Time Arcade, like that is solid. The Turtles in Time Nintendo, the Super Nintendo version is really good as well.
Yeah.
I've never played the Game Boy games. Apparently, they're all right.
I've never heard much about them, but yeah, this is definitely a cool thing to be coming out, and it'll be really interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah, this is something that I will pick up when it hits a sale. I'm not paying 40 because I do already have, like, I've got Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo, which is the best game in that collection.
Right.
I also, unfortunately, still have the NES TMNT game. It's the only physical NES game I own.
Nobody wants to buy it off you?
I've not tried. I'd feel bad about it. But yeah, so that doesn't have a release date yet, but that should be coming out sometime this year. But a lot of other stuff was announced from Nintendo Direct. You have a new version of Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition.
That is wild to me. I did not think we would ever see another Chrono game.
Yeah, I mean, I've only played the original. I've not played Chrono Cross, but this also includes Radical Dreamers, which is a text-only adventure that was only available in Japan. So that is being translated and finally brought to the West.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I've actually never played Chrono Cross. I've only played Chrono Trigger. I do have it, so yeah, that's super interesting. I'm always up for more Square releases, and specifically more of their older stuff being more accessible.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this will like trigger a Chrono Trigger remake as well. Or I mean, Chrono Trigger would benefit from one of the pixel remasters that they've been doing for Final Fantasy.
I mean, honestly, like all they really need is to bring up the version on the DS. Just bring that to Switch, and we're good.
I mean, it is on Steam as well. The Steam version was shit, but they fixed it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that compares to DS, but
I know when I mean, I'm gonna record footage of everything, but I definitely intend to get footage of that one because I've heard a lot of good things specifically about the DS version.
But another thing that came from the Direct is Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings, which have been added online service.
Which, that's great. They still need to release Mother 3, the fucking cowards.
They're never going to release that.
I mean, you know what? I said that about Trials of Mana, and look where we are now.
Mm.
So, Nintendo, you fucking cowards, release Mother 3 in the West. Like, we want to give you money for this game.
Yeah, it is weird that they kind of like still haven't done that.
Like I find it especially weird that they caved on the Mana series and not Earthbound.
I mean, you'd have thought a few years ago they would have capitalized on Earthbound since what was that Toby Fox game? Since Undertale very much is quite heavily based on Earthbound.
Yeah.
You'd have thought they would like capitalize on that then, but no.
Well, and I mean, like we got Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings on the Wii U, and then they do this. It's like, and I think Earthbound was also on the SNES Classic.
It was, yes.
So it's like, this series has a fan base. You've had Lucas and Smash Brothers for a couple of decades at this point. Like, come on. Because as great as Earthbound is, a lot of people I've talked to have said Mother 3 is better.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and obviously, any of us that want to play Mother 3 will, we will have a way to play Mother 3, but we would like to exchange money for it. Like, for someone who has not played these games all the way through, I am fully there with the fans of the games that they need to just release the damn thing.
But that's pretty much all the news that we've got, to be honest. There's not a huge amount going on at the moment because it's the end of the financial year. A lot of people are kind of like going to be waiting for kind of like the next financial year to start kind of like getting the plans in order and stuff like that.
Yeah, so not a ton going on, but you know what? That's not a bad thing because we still have plenty of stuff to keep us busy.
Yeah, it'll give me a chance to get more into Skyrim, and then when we're on probably around episode 350 or so, I can finally reveal that I've finally finished the main quest in Skyrim.
Maybe the main quest in Skyrim is better than the one in Oblivion, or at
the
least
one in Oblivion's good.
You just don't like it.
I just got distracted really easily from it and went cave hunting and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like something I would do. Because I'm the person that when I played Mass Effect, I would go and do every single side mission. And when I played Mass Effect 3, I had the galactic readiness thing at 100%. Like, I'm all about doing everything.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason whenever I play Assassin's Creed, I always end up stopping after Assassin's Creed 3 because, those first 5 games are pretty packed. It's easy to burn out when you do absolutely everything in 5 to 6 games sequentially. But yeah, so I think I don't think we have anything else to go over, so we can take a quick break and go on to the topic for the episode.
Okay.
So our theme for this episode is a little more esoteric than our usual fare. We chose games with unique controls, basically games that, in one way or another, have a control method that's not, it's not your standard action game controls or, your point and clicks. It's doing things in different ways. And the first one we're talking about is Populous, a game by Bullfrog and released on the Amiga originally, I believe.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Did they make a couple of PC versions after that?
Yeah, it's been ported to PC. It also got releases on the Master System Mega Drive. It's a game that really shouldn't be able to run on the Master System, but it does. They made it work.
Okay. So you have significantly more experience with this than I do. So why don't you give us a brief rundown?
Well, it is a very unique kind of game. It's one of the first of what would be called God games, where you don't really have direct control over any of the characters in the game, apart from one specific character in this that you do. But you're kind of like manipulating the world around the characters in order to kind of like build up, for want of a better word, a holy army, in order to take on an opponent's holy army. This was made by famous liar Peter Molyneux, and this is like one of the first games that he made, and this is like what really put him on the map. To look at a screenshot of this game, it looks really kind of complicated, but mechanically it's not that complicated at all. It just looks that way. Basically, you have like a kind of like an isometric kind of square, and you have like a book next to it with like a large map of the whole world, and you click where you want to see in this little square, and you are mainly going to be kind of like raising and lowering land. Basically, your followers need flat land in order to build on, and they need a large area of land to kind of like keep expanding. So you want to keep basically creating land for them to expand, and as the game progresses, you get more and more powerful, the more followers you have, and at a certain point in the game, you can just tell them to go kill the other guys. Basically, the main kind of like thing that stops you from doing that straight away is you kind of like have a mana bar, and it tells you what basically actions that you can do at a certain point. Whilst you've only got a few followers, you can only raise and lower land, but as you go by, you can kind of like create knights out of your leaders. You can create natural disasters on your enemy's land, like volcanoes, and create swamps and earthquakes, stuff like that, to kind of like mess over your opponent. And the Armageddon option is like the last option. That is basically the goal of the game, to get to Armageddon, and you don't want to trigger that unless you kind of like vastly outnumber your enemy, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's like a strategy game where you're gonna need to monitor your resources, like fuck with the enemy as much as you can, and just try to build like a bigger follower base.
I will say I had to so originally I was like, okay, I need to look up the controls for this, and then I was like, okay, let me look up the manual, and finally I was able to kind of come to grips with what I needed to do.
Yeah, it's not immediately apparent. It is definitely one of those games that you need to read the manual for.
Yeah, it does not tell you anything.
But back in the time that this game came out, you would read the manuals for all games anyway.
Yeah.
But I played this primarily as a kid. I played a hell of a lot of this on the Master System. That's the version that I had. I do now have the Mega Drive version as well. But this time around, I actually emulated the Amiga version, primarily because I wanted to use a mouse, just to make it like a little bit easier, but also to kind of like see how it first started. And right. It appears to be more or less identical to the Mega Drive version, because the Amiga is like a 16-bit machine anyway.
Yeah, I just played the version that's on GOG. Populous with Promised Lands is what they call it. So yeah, that's the version I played, which it basically opens it in a DOS box. Uh, I mean, it worked fine once I knew what to do.
Yeah.
Um, I I had one night in my initial run because I didn't know how to make more. Um, and he just ran around just sacking everything, like just massacring everyone.
Yeah. You want to try and create like knights as soon as you can, in order to start chipping away at the enemy's follower base.
Yeah, what I did was I started out focusing on building up where my followers started. So like that entire continent, I just leveled and had like you know I think like three or four of the big castles on it before I started connecting it to other continents.
There are benefits as well to keeping some small settlements as well. So you don't want to completely flatten everything,
Hmm.
um, because small settlements will produce like more followers quicker
Hmm.
than larger ones will. So you kind of want to keep some small settlements, but also you also want like a lot of flat land for castles and stuff like that.
Well, what ended up happening is I had the big area laid out for my castles, and then as I started connecting it to the other landmass, um, I ended up with a lot of smaller ones just because I wasn't completely terraforming the new areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I actually once I finally got to grips with it, I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's nice, once you get to a certain point, you just kind of let it run.
Yeah, pretty much, and let your mana build up, and yeah, just kind of like keep an eye on stuff. There is kind of like that midpoint where you don't really need to micromanage them so much.
Yeah, but it's a cool game. I definitely will go back and play some more.
There's quite a lot of content in the game as well. I mean, obviously the core of it kind of stays the same, but there are a huge amount of different maps. And if you kind of like go to the regular mode, you basically start on a map, and depending on how much you beat the opponent by, it will choose like slightly an easier one or a more difficult map for the next one. Um, and the Amiga version also actually had online multiplayer as well,
Mm.
over a modem, so you could play against a friend, which is quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I did see when I was looking through the manual stuff for playing a two-person game.
Which obviously I didn't even know growing up, because you couldn't do it on like Master System or Mega Drive.
Right,
But I would have played the shit out of that like online as a kid. I mean, we didn't have online when I was a kid, but
right.
it is something that sounds like really enjoyable online.
Yeah, it's you know, one of those things where like, if you were in high school at the time, like, you and your friends get together and just play a bunch of this.
Yeah, and like I say, it did pretty much kickstart Peter Molyneux's career as well. And obviously, he went on to create like much bigger games like Black and White and Fable before becoming a professional liar with stuff like Goddess and stuff like that.
Oh no, he was a professional liar with Fable.
Oh yeah. I mean, he overpromised a lot with Fable.
But yeah, then with Goddess, it's just outright
Yeah.
lies. Um,
I mean, people forgave Fable because Fable was actually a good game. It just
Goddess
wasn't what he promised it.
Goddess just doesn't exist.
Mm. Neither does the money that he promised that one guy.
Oh yeah, I find it interesting. There's an SNES version too. Not sure
Oh
how
yeah. So there is.
I'm not sure how I would enjoy this on SNES.
playing it with a controller is actually surprisingly easy. I mean, once you've chosen like the raise or lower land thing or whatever you want to do, you just move your cursor around with the directional pad. It's perfectly doable.
Okay.
You just hold down an action button, whichever one it is for SNES, and just press up or down, and you raise or lower land. Simple as that.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
But it does benefit from having a version with mouse, definitely.
Yeah, which I'm surprised the version on GOG is running DOSBox and has full on mouse control. But yeah, this I will say of the games we've played from that era, this is probably the easiest to set up and control.
Yeah.
We had significant issues with some of the other ones.
And that might be down to the unique control of not actually controlling the characters.
Well, the fact that you can point and click to just kind of do things as opposed to, okay, what button lets me talk to the shopkeeper?
But this did have sequels as well. Populous 2, Trials of the Olympian Gods, and Populous the Beginning. I believe Populous the Beginning is probably like the biggest of the series. It's the one that's most readily available in kind of like the most places. But I think the simple charm of the original is really what kind of like draws me in.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. I actually might check this one out. This third one, because it actually looks pretty cool. Came out on Windows and PlayStation.
I mean, it's a different kind of game. It's not so much a god game as you are actually controlling a character in this.
Oh, okay.
And it's more kind of like an RTS kind of thing, but it's worth a look.
Okay, maybe find a way to get this on my Vita. See what I can do with that. These are definitely, I think these are definitely worth checking out, and not at all difficult to find. I mean, the version on GOG I think was just like $4 or $5 without a sale.
Like I say, it's on Master System, Mega Drive, Amiga, SNES, so there's a lot of options for both physical copies and emulation there as well.
Yeah, so it is $6, not on sale. It is currently on sale for $149 on GOG. So that's yeah, super easy to get a hold of. GOG also does have Populous 2 and Populous the Beginning. So, I mean, if you're a PC gamer, these are super easy to get a hold of. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend checking these out.
Yeah, on the UK GOG as well, £1.19 for each of the games.
Mm-hmm.
I might actually get the PC version as well because it does have the expansion that I don't have.
But yeah, so if we've pretty much covered everything with Populous, I think we're ready to move on. It's just, check this game out. Don't trust Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick musical break and come back with our next game.
Okay.
Our next game is the one that I picked, and it's Okami, which there's a couple of different versions of this. I believe you played the Wii version.
I did, yes.
I played the version on Switch, which has the original controls from the PS2 version and the motion from the Wii, although it's not as satisfying drawing with the Joy-Con. Because I tried both, and it just feels a lot better to play it the way it was on the PS2, at least on the Switch version. The Wii's pointer is probably a little more feels a little better to draw with.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but yeah.
But yeah, so this game is actually, funnily enough, also about a deity, um, and it's the sun god, I believe, Amaterasu. But it's basically they've been stripped of their powers and need to go through and reclaim them to fight off the ancient evil that's returning, et cetera, et cetera. I like it. It's a gorgeous game, and I think that's really true with any of the versions. Like there are some graphical differences, but particularly with the Wii version, but I think the game looks great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, playing on the Wii version on a big TV didn't really help it because it made it kind of like a little bit soft.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen footage of the HD version and it does look fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very good art style. It doesn't age poorly.
It all looks hand painted.
Yeah, which is appropriate because the unique thing that you do here, like you have your normal running around controls, but to use any of your special abilities, it's all drawing symbols. So like one of the early things you do is you get the ability to restore things, and you draw across this river to fill it in. Um, there's one where you draw a circle in the sky to make the sun appear. Um, so that's your basic setup for it. And I mean, I think it works pretty well most of the time, but it can like I'm sure you ran into some issues on the Wii version because that one can be a little dodgy.
Yeah, I mean, well, how does the PlayStation 2 control work with that?
So it's basically you're drawing with the right stick. I think you're drawing with the right stick. I know you're drawing with one of the sticks, but you're basically holding the button down and tracing it with a cursor from the stick. The brush that you see come down is there in the original version. So that's how that works.
Because I did have issues with this with the motion controls because for the life of me, I cannot do shapes with these controls, and the game kind of like needs you to. Um, Drawing circles was the worst, but trying to get like a straight line as well was like really difficult. Maybe it's just because of my old hands. I don't know, but there are kind of like tutorial sections which you go through at the start, and they will not continue until you draw a specific shape, and
Right.
you've got to keep doing it over and over again until you get it right. And on a lot of those, I spent like several minutes just trying to draw a straight line through a boulder, and I spent even longer trying to draw the sun in the sky like a circle. I just could not make a circle. It would just turn into like some egg shaped thing if I even managed to kind of like create an entire circle. Which is quite annoying because that is like the only way that you can progress.
Right.
I still persevered. I managed to get to the section where you are restoring the saplings of the great tree.
Mm-hmm.
I did the first one in the cave, and then I came out to do the one outside the cave. And after several minutes of again trying to draw a circle, I just thought, you know what, we'll just leave it there. I've seen what the game is, and it's a good game, but the Wii like remote is just it just wasn't doing it for me.
So
People have played through the game fine with the Wii remote. Just for me, I just couldn't.
so one of the things I wanted to ask about is how long did it take you to draw that one star during the tutorial to get the ability?
Probably a couple minutes because I didn't actually know where it wanted me to do it.
Okay.
Because obviously you've got like the constellation shape, and there's a bit at the end where you need to put the dot. But I thought that I had to put the dots where I thought I had to like draw the whole thing in.
Mm.
Like, so it took me a minute to work that out. Once I had that, I was fine. But trying to get it on the exact spot was a little bit difficult once I knew how to do it.
Yeah. Um, I had a problem with because I actually did get some footage of the Wii version for use later, but it took me forever to get that one star painted. Like, and I knew where it needed to go, but I'm sitting there like, dot, and then the little thing comes up. It's like, fill the constellation. Like dot, and it kept giving me the same message like I was doing it wrong. It's like I'm putting it down exactly where you said to, what you want from me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And the little tutorial bug gets really annoyed with you as well when you don't do
yeah,
it right.
yeah. So that was frustrating. So I was curious if you had those same issues.
Well, once I knew where to put it, um, I didn't have an issue with that particularly,
Mm,
but it was everything else. Like I said, even trying to draw a straight line in the right place, um, it would end up going at an angle. Maybe it's down to the position of my sensor. There's only one place where my sensor can really go, so I couldn't really do anything about that. Or maybe I was too far away, maybe I was too close. But again, the setup in my room is kind of like that is how far away I am. I can't really
right.
change that.
Right. There's only so much you can do in that regard.
But this is it is still a good game. I can still see the good game there. This is a game that I think would work so well on 3DS with the stylus.
And there is a DS version called Okami Den, which I think I'm trying to remember. I think it's just another game. I don't think it's a remake.
Because like with stylus, you'd be fine, perfectly fine.
It is a okay. So Okami Den is a spiritual successor rather than a sequel to Okami. But yeah, so there is a DS version that I've looked and it's not terribly easy to find. But I think Okami does work well on Switch. Um,
Does it use touchscreen undocked?
yes,
So that would probably make it a lot easier.
yeah, and that's one thing. Like I didn't deal with that because I was recording, but it does. You can use touch controls when it's undocked.
Yeah, because that is all I would need to really enjoy the game. Just give me a touchscreen that I can like physically draw on,
Right,
rather than making gestures with my hand.
right, and I think the control with the sticks works decently, but I'm also I'll put up with a lot in games. Uh, so I'm probably not the best judge of that. But yeah, from what I understand, the touchscreen control does work well because it's a drawing on a touchscreen. Like that's you know very simple, very easy to do.
Yeah, I'm assuming on those versions as well, the attack is just on a button.
I think so.
Because on the Wii, you've got to like slightly shake the Wiimote to do an attack, and
Oh right,
sometimes it just will not pick it up.
right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, you can just attack with a button.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
Because that was really frustrating me. That was.
yeah. I forgot that was how you attacked in the Wii version.
Because you can do like a strong attack just by drawing like a line through them, but because I was having trouble doing that, I was having to just attack them normally, and
And you just wildly swinging the remote around
yeah,
and it's not doing anything.
yeah. Why was speaking of combat though? Why are all the enemies musicians?
I don't know.
There's a drummer, there's a guitarist, there's some guy with like panpipes.
I feel like this is one of those games that was made and is just very, well, I mean, obviously it's very, very Japanese, but almost so Japanese as to be inscrutable.
Like maybe their music is just that bad.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's a game that I was given. I got the Wii version as a gift years and years ago, and every time I've tried to play this, I've just bounced off of it. But I love the art style. I like the I like the concept of the mechanic, although the struggles that it presents are probably part of the reason I always bounce off. But yeah, it's a good game. It just, you have to be willing to put up with some nonsense.
Yeah, and like I said, on a different system, I would enjoy this a lot more. I didn't realize that it was on PlayStation 2. I might have tried to track that version down. Although I can imagine PlayStation 2 version being expensive.
Well, see that I'm not sure about because I've I've never even bothered looking for the PS2 version because I have the Wii version and the Switch version.
There are certain games on PS2 that are like you just know that one's going to be expensive. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, no, not that bad. There's a buy it now for 15. So it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, so not too hard. It's also like it's not like a super high demand game because it's been re-released so many times.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I got an unboxed Wii copy for a fiver, so I just went
mm,
with that.
yeah, and then there's a bunch of different versions. It's come out for PS2, PS3, Wii, Xbox One, PS4, Switch. Um, those three are all the same version. But there is a separate PS3 version that's a different HD remaster. But honestly, I would recommend people play it on Switch. Um, it's not something you're going to need the extra power on the PS4 and Xbox One for, and having that touchscreen available is, a big deal.
I wonder if the PC version lets you draw with the mouse,
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
because that would make things a lot easier.
It would. I had not even considered that. The PC version is the HD remaster, the one on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
Yeah, 'cause it's on Steam for 15.99.
Right. Doesn't say anything on here about being able to use the mouse.
Well, like the top review gives it 11 out of 10 and says there is a button dedicated to balking.
uh,
I'll have to look into that. I mean, it's something that I would like maybe pick up in a sale if it does allow mouse drawing on that. Definitely something I'd pick up. Or
right.
if not, then I would have a look at the Switch version.
Yeah.
But that's likely to be more expensive.
No, I'm honestly not sure, to tell you the truth, because I think I want to say it's like 15, $20 on Switch. I imported a physical copy from Japan, so I'm not sure how much it is physically. I think it's only like $20. $20 currently on sale for $10 on the American eShop. Pretty sure Japan is the only region that got a physical copy.
It's actually $7.99.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad. I mean, I'm not going to buy it now, but maybe keep an eye on it. I'm sure it'll come down to that price again.
Right. I wanted a physical copy of this, so I imported the Japanese one because the Switch is region free, and I'm glad I did because the box art is just amazing. Yeah, no, I think it's a good game. There is a learning curve, and technical difficulties are a thing.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe my problems with Wii were down to my setup. I can't say that that's universal. That's just my experience with it.
But I did also have some issues with the Wii version, so it could be your setup. It could also be that the Wii version doesn't work as well as you would expect a drawing game to work.
Yeah.
I don't really have too much else to say about it. I mean, I recommend people check it out, but I would recommend people look into the Switch version just because that's, it's easy to get and it looks great on Switch. I know there's people that don't like the HD remaster. They say that the best looking one is the PS3 remaster, and then the Wii version is significantly different. Like it's much brighter, I think. But I mean, I think it looks good across the board. I mean, it's the difference between art style and photorealism is that it kind of doesn't matter what system you're on at a certain point.
Looking at both, I prefer the HD art style to the PS3, but the PS3 one is still really nice.
Mm-hmm. I would recommend people check this game out. However you can get a hold of it. I just think the Switch is the easiest way. PS4 and Xbox also have it digitally, and it's although I think it probably goes on sale more on Switch.
Yeah,
but who knows? It might get caught up in Steam sales and go down to rock bottom prices there too.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll definitely look into seeing if the PC version can mouse draw.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe if there's a mod to work it in.
Mm.
But yeah, so I don't think we have too much else to say here without going in circles. So I think we'll take a quick break and come back to finish things up. So that's our episode for today. Hopefully we'll be back next month.
Yeah, if I don't catch any more bugs,
or if we don't get any here.
Yeah.
But I guess all that's left to do is say goodbye. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Nintendo are fucking cowards.